So we deal with the legality of physician-assisted suicide. According to the National Library of Medicine, a physician-assisted suicide refers to when a patient decides to end their life early to minimize suffering, and physician-assisted suicide is when they self-administer it. It is different from euthanasia, which, according to Candida Jordan, with a bachelor's degree of art and philosophy, euthanasia is when the physician administers it for the patient.
So we were looking at the debate over physician-assisted suicide because some people think it is moral or morally correct to relieve patients of their suffering, while other people don't think it's moral to take away anything in life. And it impacts patients directly because it gives them, it affects their autonomy and control over their own life and what they want to do with it. So that leads us to a question: to what extent should physician-assisted suicide be legal?
So our solution to this problem is to completely legalize physician-assisted suicide. Our pros being that it relieves suffering it relieves the patient's suffering and gives patients the autonomy over which is the choice over your body and your life. And our cons is that there will be an ongoing debate of ethics over physician-assisted suicide, and it does appeal to vulnerable populations. Now, the economic impact of physician-assisted suicide that it better benefits the familial economy. Dr. Smith, a physician who has written various papers and articles on physician-assisted suicide, has stated that 2016 Medicare data specifies that uninsured families could possibly save nearly $15,800 in end-of-life costs if a patient were to choose physician-assisted suicide. So that also goes in hand with the money that can be saved. Not only does it free resources and time from other doctors and physicians, but it also relieves the bills of healthcare from patients who are terminally ill or who do choose physician suicide. So he also states that if 2.7% of patients that die per year would reduce nearly 4 weeks of their lives by choosing physician-assisted suicide, it would equal to a savings of $990 million spent on healthcare each year. So not only that, but most of terminally ill patients are made of elderly, which goes in hand with how the government can save money through Social Security checks. If the average patient who chooses physician-assisted suicide shortens their life by nearly 4 weeks, the government will be saving about $1,342 per patient. So, with the data of the $990 million that has to be saved per year, that only equates to 0.07% of healthcare spent in the U.S. So it's very minimal. So it really, if we were to legalize it, that $990 million wouldn't be a big portion of the money spent on healthcare, which leads it to better benefit the rural economy, as that $990 million could be used on, or is often used by families than the actual government in healthcare.
Views surrounding physician-assisted suicide. So some people support it because, like we said before, it relieves patients of unnecessary suffering, while other people don't support it because life shouldn't be taken at all. And these views can be seen in the teachings of philosophers like Descartes and Schopenhauer. Descartes introduced the idea of mind-body dualism, which is the idea that the mind and body are two different entities, and the mind can perceive things differently from the body. So pain can be perceived differently by the mind compared to the body. So people that are against physician-assisted suicide may think that because they may think that the pain patients face is more than what they actually have to go through, and that's why their opinion is they disapprove of physician-assisted suicide. And another philosopher, Schopenhauer, believed that suffering is inherent in life. So people can take this in several different ways. They can say that because it's inherent in life, that everyone should have to deal with it, and physician-assisted suicide should not be legal. but other people may like take the same say and think that because its suffering is inevitable, we should try to reduce as much of it as we can instead of just not doing anything at all.
According to Peter B. Curry, with a medical degree from St. Louis University of Medicine, the idea of physician-assisted suicide has been affected by both legislature and personal beliefs. It is looked down upon in the medical community, and physicians have been prosecuted for physician-assisted suicide, although they have been minimal. Prosecution included public notoriety and legal defense fees. In the Netherlands, physicians are able to perform physician-assisted suicide as long as they follow the strict guidelines. And those who have done it, some say that they will do it again, but others have said they won't ever do that for anyone. The slippery slope refers to the idea that the more euthanasia is legalized, the more non-voluntary euthanasia will happen, which is when the patient doesn't consent. And we can assume that if that happens with euthanasia, something similar can happen with physician-assisted suicide. The Journal of Law, Medicine, and Ethics has reported the Oregon versus Ashcroft case. In April of 2002, Attorney General John Ashcroft claimed that physician-assisted suicide was not a legitimate medical practice under the Controlled Substances Act, and Judge Robert F. Jones has struck that thing down.
So one of the potential solutions we thought of was to legalize physician-assisted suicide, but only limit to terminally ill patients. And the pros were to relieve unnecessary suffering, patient autonomy, so patients will have more control over their own body and what they want to do with their life. And also dignity, they can die in control of their death. But one of the cons is that it would reject those who have severe debilitating conditions, but they might not be considered terminally ill. So they can still be suffering and their quality of life may be affected, but it's not considered terminally ill, so they can't get the procedure done. So that's a really important aspect, and that's why we didn't decide to go through with this solution. Another solution would just be to outlaw physician-assisted suicide completely, and that would avoid giving too much power to doctors who might abuse it, and there would be no pressure on vulnerable people, like vulnerable populations. They would, if the procedure is available, they might feel pressured to get it done. So if we just outlaw it, they wouldn't have any pressure to go through it with it if they don't want to. But the cons would be not allowing patients to reduce their suffering, and they wouldn't have any autonomy over their body, and they wouldn't have a say in what they want to do with their body.
And our implications and limitations. So our limitations is that we mainly looked at US data, meaning different countries may have different perspectives and views on the ethics of physician-assisted suicide. We also didn't really look at doctors' opinions in this, which leads to the implications that physicians may have to go against their own morals in order to provide physician-assisted suicide, and that it also comes with the loss and grief to family and friends of patients.
All right, so we're going to start on the left. Kristen. What is an example of a compelling argument from one of your peers' individual reports that you decided to exclude from your team presentation, and why?
So one of the arguments from Matt's RR was that families might use physician-assisted suicide to alleviate the cost of end-of-health population, and also there was not too many studies that define that.
All right. Kat, how did the group decide to include Kristen's perspective into the overall presentation?
So Kristen talked about how different philosophers' views on suffering and death, and she mentioned the dual human experience about how people have different physical and mental experiences, and we took that into account. And when considering different solutions, we talked about how patients had that in one of our solutions, patients would have the choice of ending their own lives and taking more control over that.
All right. And Nat, if you had one other team member, which other perspectives or limitations could they have researched that would have been useful contribution to your project?
So we thought the science lens would be great for this because not only would it dive into the process of physician-assisted suicide, but the drug that is given and the science behind it, and how much the materials we have to have in order to make it, or like the cost.
All right.